I'm back again answering your questions about acting, my career, my journey, the industry, just sharing my advice and my experiences, because in life and in conversations with people who are trying to get into the industry, I'm often asked questions, so I just thought it would be interesting to have that kind of conversation, but just in a video format. And I found out through doing this kind of structure of video in the past that it is actually more difficult than you might think to source questions for a video like this outside the context of a conversation. Like, how often are you just randomly asking people questions? Like, it's understandable, but it is just difficult to source questions. So if you have sent in a question, then thank you so much for that. I do really appreciate it. And if you want to see more from me, then please do subscribe. I would really appreciate that too. And now let's answer the questions. And the first question is, where do I find my auditions? And I've been asked this quite a few times actually, both from the perspective of you're auditioning quite a lot, how are you auditioning so often, where are you finding so many auditions, and also from the perspective of people who are wanting to get in that kind of short film route and build up footage that they can then send out to places. So I get auditions through my agent, and I also paid earlier on in the year for a year-long membership to the casting website Mandy, so I can find a lot of different casting calls on there. But another place that I found that is actually really useful to get in the actual audition room and get seen, especially for theatre, is the Arts Jobs website, because you can filter it by performer to see performer jobs. And actually what I've learned with this is to filter it just by performer jobs and don't filter it by your region, because a lot of these jobs could potentially pay relocation fees, and a lot of them do that, or they'll host you somewhere, so you don't need to worry about it not being in your region. And also this is where it's useful if you can. I know it's a privilege, but like, I have family in different parts of the country that I could stay with if I got work elsewhere, so it's useful to try and like build up that for yourself and find different ways that you can do work in different parts of the country. But there are so many auditions on there and so many different jobs on there that I've got actual in-person auditions from. Also, I found auditions through following people in the industry on Twitter, which I know it's not called Twitter anymore, but you know the website I'm talking about. And also on Instagram, because I meet so many people in the industry and follow them on Instagram. Like, if they're making a project or someone they know is making a project, often they'll share casting calls on their story. And also, I did National Youth Theatre, and my intake course has a group chat of like over 200 people. So often people will share casting calls in that group chat, and I will find out about castings through that. So it's just partly about who you know as well. And sometimes now, because I've done auditions for quite a few years, people will get back in touch with me. Like, some of the opportunities I've had this year are from people who I've previously auditioned for and they've said no, getting back in contact with me and either offering me a role or asking me to audition again and then offering me a role from that. So I think a lot of it is just about like building contacts and getting to know people, and the more people you know and the more auditions you've done, the more auditions you get. Also, something I've done to get myself involved in short films is by contacting the film departments at various different universities throughout my kind of region. So lots of them won't get back to you, but there's one that will either forward my email onto all of their students in their department, so then they can contact me, or they'll send the casting calls for all of the different films they're doing that year, so then I can get in contact with the people there. And like, you wouldn't see those casting calls out publicly, but like, just reaching out to people is a way. Like, the worst thing they can say is like ignore you or say no, so it's worth giving that a go and getting involved that way and building up short film footage through that. Another question I've had is, how has it been with my new agent? And I've been with my agent since July, and there's so much that I could say, but it's been really quite good because I've never had an agent before and I've never had auditions through Spotlight. Like, I found it very difficult to get the opportunity to get to tape or be in the audition room through Spotlight, but since having my agent, I've had the opportunity to get auditions from Spotlight, which has been really useful and really valuable. And I think the initial meeting we had was also really useful because I learned a lot about different ways I could improve my Spotlight page, and I just learned a lot about the industry. So I feel like it's been a really useful, great experience. I'm not speaking about it like it's over, it's not over, but I just have found it's all been very good, basically, so far. The next question I've been asked is, do I have a show reel? And the answer is yes. It's on my Spotlight page, and also I have an unlisted link to it on YouTube, so if I'm sending it off to other things, like, it's just useful to have it there as well. I don't really know how much more explanation that needs, and I think it's just over a minute and a half, but it's good to keep it quite short, probably like under a minute and a half, but mine's like just a few seconds over that. But actually, when I applied to agents most recently, it could be argued that what I sent off wasn't exactly a show reel, because I just sent off a bigger video file of all of my main scenes in a project that I'd filmed recently at the time. But I think that's fine, because I think I'd argue, instead of that being a show reel, it was more like when someone emails an agent and invites them to watch a play, like I was inviting them, like, this is a recent bit of work that I've done if you want to see this, and this is how I've been active in the industry recently. So I think that's fine, but like for an actual show reel, I wouldn't make it like that was like 5.5, 6 minutes long. I wouldn't do that for a show reel. I'd make it shorter. So the final question is, how do I find being an actor further out of London, and what sorts of opportunities do I find? So if you don't know, I'm not in London. I don't live in London. It's so expensive to live in London. I have actually travelled into London a few times this year, and more often than I ever have done, for various different like training opportunities, like not that many training opportunities, but like a weekend course basically. And also I've done a few auditions and a little bit of work in London, so I've been there more often than I would usually, because I don't usually go to London that much. But I know that London's a big place and there's obviously a lot of opportunities there, but I feel like because I'm a regional actor, I look at the opportunities in all of the different cities nearby to me, and I make the most of all of the different opportunities in my region. So I look out for different auditions that are going on at all of the different venues near me. I look at the kind of direction that different companies are going in, and I get to know the regional companies and audition for them like multiple times a bit more. I feel like it's kind of hard to explain what kind of opportunities I find here, because I have done performing here, I have taken opportunities here and done like community theatre growing up, I've done like small theatre shows near where I live, but also the fact that there are less opportunities here and less of that kind of straight acting training that I'd want has just made me more willing to travel and go further away and learn about opportunities elsewhere. So am I making the most of the opportunities in my immediate location? No, but I've travelled quite far across the region. Like I've travelled for like a couple of hours sometimes to get to classes, because I just feel like I can't find the same kind of thing near me, because I feel like there's so much in London and there's so much in certain places, and then there's less in other parts. Like this industry is not geographically very equal in opportunities to train and get into the industry. So I feel like I've been lucky to take advantage of opportunities elsewhere, but also I have done small shows that I've learned stuff from, and I've done like dance classes and stuff here, so I have learnt here, but also like I just have become more willing to like travel very far in order to get what I want and to get the kind of training that I want. So that's my answer to that, and I've not really got that much more to say, so thank you so much for watching. Bye!